Praise be to Jesus Christ, and good evening, and welcome to the Catholic Forum. I'm your host tonight, Michelle Dunhartig, and I am very blessed to have Sister Mary Margaret Delasky. And as you can see by her habit, those of you who know the religious garb of the Catholic Church, Sister is a Franciscan of our very own Franciscan Life Process Center, which is actually in Lowell, right, Sister?
That's right.
Which is a little bit outside of Grand Rapids, and I've never been able to visit yet, but I have seen the pictures. It looks beautiful. Sister has quite an interesting program that she does there, which is music therapy. I don't know if you have a specific name for it, Sister. Is it just?
It's just called the music therapy program.
And do you have it accredited now through the schools that people can come and actually get certified in this?
Well, yes, that's part of it. We do have an internship program. We're a national site.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, yesterday we started 2 new interns. One is from North Carolina, and one is from Indiana, I believe. And so they've come from all over the country to get trained at our center.
Wow. And I don't think that a lot of our viewers would know what music therapy is. I know I work at a local hospital, and I've seen some of our music therapy people coming through, and I know what kind of a gift it can be for our patients, but maybe you can share a little bit with our viewers what it does.
In a very succinct and clear way, we say that music therapy is using music as the therapy to reach some aspect of the person that we're working with, whether it's a physical need, a spiritual need, an emotional need, a social need. And so music therapy music is such a versatile medium that it can be used as a tool. It's our tool. And so we have to be very well-trained musicians in order to be free to use it. And it's used with all ages and all special needs and so forth.
How much training actually goes into becoming a music therapist?
Well, the longer someone has studied an instrument or is comfortable with the medium of music, the better. So I myself began studying seriously piano at age 9, and I never stopped. So by the time I got to college, music was a comfortable medium for me. But once you hit college, it's a 4-year program with about a 6 to 9 month internship, and then you get a Bachelor of Science in Music Therapy. We're right in the middle of determining whether it should become a master's level program before and then after that, after you do your college, you have to take a certification, a board certification exam, a national exam. And our association is leaning strongly toward becoming a master's level profession.
I find that when I'm talking to people about it, and there is not a lot of knowledge out there or the benefits of it for different patients. Maybe you can share with us a little bit about the demographic, how many different or the ways it's applied and the different situations with people.
It itself has evolved as a formal profession. Of course, it goes way back to King David needing to be soothed by, King Saul needing to be soothed by David's harp, and is often used as a biblical reference for it. But through the century, that's what the medicine men often used music in their healing processes. But it actually became a formal profession accredited by colleges in 1950. Was the first program, and at that time it was to serve the many people who came back from World War II and were fighting depression because of what had happened to them during the war, and they were in these large hospitals. So someone began thinking that, and they saw that they would bring in symphony musicians to play for them and to entertain them, and they saw how much that helped. So people began to do research and look into how could we really use this in a more therapeutic way to help more people. And so it began as a profession dealing with mental health issues. Then it evolved into working I would say in the early 60s, into working with the mentally impaired, Down syndrome and developmental disabilities, and saw how these children could develop cognitively more if we taught them with musical medium. And that became then a very, very much expanded use of it.
That's an exciting field.
Then in the 70s, because musicians are always pretty creative, we began to work with the elderly in nursing homes. And all of a sudden, we were realizing that it was a way to access long-term memory, because the short-term memory was gone, but the long-term memory was still there, and through music, through songs, and the experiences would come back to the people, and they could begin talking, or maybe they hadn't talked for a long time.
I had no idea.
And so in the 70s and early 80s, that's the part that blossomed. Meanwhile, all the others were continuing to grow.
Right.
And then in the 80s and 90s, I would say with the development of technology and brain scans and all the research that started to happen, and we started to really look inside, began to see how music could be helping those who had neurological impairments, such as Parkinson's, and children with autism, where there was some brain dysfunction. And so that's now the part that's really developing and being researched. So it's many different levels.
I know, it's almost like
and
it's
then early childhood too is another big area where music is so helpful.
It almost sounds too good to be true, like it can cure or help almost anything. But it's so funny when you think about it, how the Lord uses different things, because music is, like you said, that universal language. And even just the tempo, we have a friend with an autistic child, and it's fascinating to watch what happens when music is played, and how they change, and how the communication and the interactions changes.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
I was going to say that's a big thing now that we're working at, is using music to help speech and language development. The communication level, music is a nonverbal medium.
Yeah.
And often that's the first level that has to be established with a child with autism, is just interaction. And a communication can happen through a drum or by shaking a maraca. That interaction, that eye contact, that sense of I'm aware of you as a person, starts to happen in this nonverbal way.
That takes me back to, don't you have a mission statement that talks about the wholeness of the person, and how important it is, to recognize that, and the way that the harmony or music kind of transcends those what looks like physical barriers that we might have, or the communication barriers, verbal, or whether we can hear. It's almost as though music speaks to the ears of the heart.
Right.
More than.
And what that is our mission statement as music therapists, and what we mean by wholeness is to the fullest potential that God has given them, and through music to help them to reach that.
It's really opened up a whole new world for the people that are actually able to be beneficiaries of it. Is there, how many people are there? I mean, is the field growing? Because I, working in healthcare, can see a need for this on a daily basis in almost every walk of life, really. Is there a shortage, or?
Actually, I think there is now. There are pockets in the country where there is more recognition of it as a very strong therapeutic medium, and are being positions are being opened and established. But in some areas there aren't as many, and if the individual who's a music therapist is willing to move, there are jobs out there anywhere now.
I know. I see them all the time at nursing facilities, working with the elderly, and the joy that it just brings to them is, I think that sometimes the therapist actually has a greater benefit just from being able to witness the joy that comes from the beneficiary who receives it. Tell me a little bit about the Franciscan Center, or where you actually work out of for your music therapy program. Does it just have music therapy? Do you have other mediums that you deal in there?
Oh, yes, we do. We were established as a community in this area in the early 70s. And for years, we just lived with the people as St. Francis and Franciscans do, just get to know who's around. And then gradually, as we individually began to get our credentials, then we began to establish programs. And for a long time, they just grew organically, and we had no facility. In the bad winter months, in the summer months, we could do it outside, because we do live on a 238-acre farm. And in the spring and summer and early fall, it's wonderful because we could be outside. But once the weather got cold, we didn't have any place. So in about the late 80s, we began talking about the need for a center, a year-round facility. And that's when we began working at fundraising and help, and with the people of the greater Grand Rapids area, with their support, to build a center. And it was to be a center for education and therapy. So we we had a preschool for early childhood. We had a geriatric program right from the start. We had music education as well as music therapy. We have counseling for families and individuals. And now our latest program, and those have continued, we do not have a preschool anymore, but we work with a lot of very young children, is our retreat program. We are now a retreat center, and we can host people for a single-day retreat if they want to come just for some time away, or for a week-long. We have facilities overnight for about 30 people, or small groups come and just enjoy the beautiful land any time of the year.
And you have on your center, you have two, I have to say this word because I love it, yurts.
That's right.
I saw those on your website, and I just like to say it, yurt. But they're actually, they enable you to live a little bit closer to nature.
That's right.
And they look beautiful where they're located in a very kind of secluded area on the premises.
Yes.
And are those available for retreat as well? So you can call Sister Mary Margaret and reserve your yurt today. They have a website. It is the lifeprocesscenter.org, and that's LIFEPROCESS Center, CENTER.org. Yay! And it's on the website, on the screen. I would love it if everybody could go and check it out, especially here in Grand Rapids. I hear you also can.
Yes.
You make jam.
We've been busy at that.
Yeah.
This is the canning time.
Oh.
Tomatoes, beans.
See, it sounds like your ministry is mostly geared towards the arts, you know, and but all I can think about is my stomach.
But as an aside, I'm in charge of the garden, so that is part of my ministry at this time of the year.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about the music therapy piece, because I feel, and especially in our culture today, beauty is a little harder to come by. I feel that when we do have beauty, we don't recognize it. Well, let me rephrase that. I think that we recognize it, but we see it so rarely now that sometimes we can kind of be beauty struck. But what do you see? I mean, it sounds like you work with children and people from all walks. I mean, it still captures the human spirit. So,
well, I can tell you a story that kind of says what I believe about beauty, or how a few years ago, I do play the harp, and we got a call from a donor that's for some reason, I always thought it would be nice to have a big harp, and I always thought it would be nice to have a beautiful swimming pool and a nice ice skating rink and a great big grand piano. So every year I put on my Christmas list those 4 things, and it got to be a big joke. Well, one day I got a call from one of our good friends, and he said, without saying hello, he said, "How would you like a big golden harp?" And I said, "Yes." And then I had to learn what that meant, because it was the beginning of a whole new emphasis in my life, because I had been a piano person, I had been doing music therapy, and now this was a brand new instrument, pretty new for me. And to make a long story short, I talked to our Mother General at the time, and I said, "This is going to be a big commitment. Do you think I should do it?" She said, "Well, if it brings more beauty into the world, then yes, we should do it."
Amen.
So
how long have you been playing the harp?
Well, I had one lesson back in about 70, but then I didn't do much with it because I had no harp until at Michigan State, I must have expressed the desire for harp, and they said, "Oh, sister, there's a small little harp that's for sale." So we did get that harp. I took about 2 or 3 or 4 more lessons, but got too busy with everything else. And to make beautiful instrumental music, you have to practice.
Yes.
So I didn't really practice seriously until this golden harp came, and that was about maybe 92 or 93 that I've been more serious
about practicing. And I see that you have what's called Harp Fest.
Yes.
At the center. It is a beautiful instrument. I mean, there is nothing more sacred or soothing, although I do like Gregorian chant too. Do you teach that?
I can. I mean, yes, I sing it. We sing it in
If
our
Sister
community
can
a lot.
teach me how to sing, that would be a miracle. I'm just going to tell everybody right
I
now.
always say everybody can sing.
Not well. So when you have the Harp Fest, do people come from all over? Do they bring their own harp? I mean, those do they travel okay? They look kind of big.
These are, yes, most of them bring small harps.
Okay.
And you wouldn't believe, there is a whole world of harp out there.
No,
I didn't know it till I
Yeah.
jumped in with both feet either. But there are many, many people. And it's become very popular because now they build the small harps. You don't need the big golden harp. And you can have much enjoyment and play a lot of music. Much music is written for it. The whole Irish style of Celtic harping has
Celtic
become
music.
very popular.
Yeah.
And there are many harp builders. And for less than $2,000, you can get a nice harp.
Do you think that when you're taking and going out and visiting your different patients and your different students, do they prefer the harp? I mean, is there a medium to it? Because there's something.
I would say so. In the
Yeah.
hospital, I found that we use guitar a lot because that can be very soft and beautiful, but whenever I would bring the harp into a patient, that was the favorite, and I would get unbelievable results.
Yeah, it is almost that ancient, very pure.
That's right.
That really, do you find that after they've done that, they have just a little bit, after they've listened for a while, there's a little more peace?
Oh, definitely. And I can tell you one experience where the harp really or more than once, but the one that I can remember well, ushered one woman right into heaven. And it was the harp, I believe, plus the singing. It was her room. She was the matriarch of a large family, and all the family was there, and they had been there for a week, and she just was dying by inches, and everybody was, you know, a little more frazzled, a little more on edge, and you could feel that in the air. You could almost just grab it. It was so tense in the air.
Yeah.
And one of the nurses asked me to go into her room, and before this, the family had already said no more pastors, no more spiritual leaders, no more anybody in here. They asked me to go in, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but I really wanted to serve this nurses because they were getting at their wits' end too, to know what to do.
Right.
So I just walked in with the little harp, and I said to one of the daughters, I said, would it be okay if I played harp for your mother? She said, yes, like that. And I said, well, what kind of music would she like? Because we know that preferred music is the most effective.
Yeah.
So what kind of music would she like? And, well, religious music, of course. We're Baptists. And I said, oh, great. I know a lot of good music. So I started, and we started with probably Amazing Grace, because that's always the most, I don't remember what the first one was. And as I was playing it and I was singing, pretty soon all of the people started singing, and it was 4-part harmony, and it was this gorgeous sound in the room. And I thought, oh, this is great. And I could feel the tension going, just dissipating. So then I started Nearer My God to Thee. And everybody was singing, and I knew they would probably know the second verse by heart. So I did the second verse, and the singing was stopping, and it was getting really thin. And I was facing the mother, and they were all sort of in back of me. And I thought, oh my goodness, I chose the wrong song, or they don't know the words to the second verse. And this daughter whom I had first spoken to leaned over and said, "Sister, keep playing. Our mother just died."
Oh.
And it was exactly what they needed, and exactly what she needed in order for peace to come to all of them.
What a gift to be able to be present at that moment.
Yes.
So as a music therapist, are you on call? I mean,
well, we work at St. Mary's Hospital, and we're there every afternoon from 1 to 5.
Okay.
So it's a little difficult to be on call because we have so many other commitments.
Yeah.
But all the nurses and doctors in the hospital know that's when they can get a music therapist. And then if there is some urgent need, I'm sure any one of them would go in, but we haven't yet done that. But I think in hospitals where the music therapist is full-time and it's one person, I think that person probably would be
able to be there. So those of you who are looking at majors in college, you know, and if you love music, this is a beautiful way to put your music to service that I think is a little bit different than working in the church and playing the music. I think it could be very rewarding. Are you invited often then to nursing home facilities?
Yes, we do work in several nursing homes in the greater Grand Rapids area.
And you had mentioned with Parkinson's and with Alzheimer's. I'm very interested in how you can how it tweaks the long-term memory. Have they done studies, or can you help us understand a little bit about how the music actually can do that? Because it's not connecting for me.
Well, I don't have a science background, but I know that is the one area that they've been able to prove without a doubt that it's the music that has had an effect. For instance, for Parkinson's, people who often they have trouble like getting out of a chair with ease and then starting to walk with ease. The therapist would take and try different music with different beats, different tempos, to see if one of them worked better. And they would find that, oh, this tempo is good, it keeps that person moving, or this one helped them get out of the chair with more ease. And then they would track that and do it live. So the first meetings would be live, trying different things. And once they found one that really helped the person, they would make a recording of that, or now it's on the iPads and all of that. And that could be played and used for that person to assist them in their gait.
Even in therapy. So are you finding that occupational therapists or physical therapists who are working with the patients, are they kind of dabbling into music therapy as well?
Well,
or?
I think they know the value of it. In many places, music therapists and PTs work together with the patient.
That is amazing. I can't believe. It's funny how the Lord works, you know, and how, because I do find music to be, it really is the universal language.
And it's therapeutic for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, music can be a therapy. It can be an assistance if you're house cleaning and you hate house cleaning and you put down your favorite music, you work a little faster. I mean, it has
what I do.
What I guess I'm saying, it has an effect on people.
I hate cleaning the house, and I always have to put on my music.
And if you're anxious about something, sometimes many people will use it. Or when you're driving, it makes the trip shorter. I mean, it does have an effect on us. We know that.
Yeah, I find sometimes my children will put on some music that will be a little bit more jarring. You know, I can't listen to that. You have to turn it off. You know, but it's funny. I have a lot of Gregorian chant at home, and I'll put it in at first, and when they were in the middle school, I started this, and they would complain a little bit, but when they were doing their homework, and now they actually like to have it on.
Is that right?
When they're doing their homework, yeah. But I think that every human person is built for that. Do you think so?
Built for Gregorian chant, or for music in general?
For music in general, and when I say music in general, because I think about some of the music that we're producing in this country today, and I would say, no, we're not really built for it. It's not good for my ears.
Well, yeah, some of it, it's so...
It's the harmonious, you know, and you know how you hear the phrase about truth is symphonic, and when you think about symphony and harmony, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, because some of the music that comes out today just makes my ears bleed.
Well, it does. It does, and I don't call it music.
That's a very good point.
It's more rhythm and more noise. I mean, it's really not music.
I'm going to tell my kids that the next time. That's just noise. That doesn't count as music. You have to turn that off.
Yeah.
Well, I also wanted to talk a little bit about autism and Down syndrome, because from what I have seen from my experience with those children, and I did have a friend too whose daughter was both blind and deaf. And just being able to feel the vibrations of the music really kind of broke through. What is that like for you? I mean, have you been able to witness those breakthroughs, you know, for families and children?
It would be nice to say we have many, many breakthroughs all the time. That's just not reality.
Okay.
But yes, I have seen breakthroughs. Children to start using words for the first time.
Yeah.
It didn't happen overnight. It took weeks and months. But starting with the same repetitious kind of greetings, or children being able to express happiness and joy.
Yeah.
And maybe not using words, but being able to show that, because their lives are so stressful. Children with autism are so stressed, their
Yes.
lives. This gives them pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely good breakthroughs in that way.
I would imagine that as parents, you know, and seeing the music and watching what it can do for their children, that they would want to be able to bring their children more often. What type of a schedule do you offer for them? And we only have a couple minutes. Do you have like a regular schedule that people can call you and regularly bring their children by?
Definitely. Or? What they should do is contact the center and just ask for me, because all of the requests are funneled through me, and we try to meet them once a week. But we have 9 therapists, and they're all pretty busy right now. Doesn't mean we can't try to fit someone else in.
Yeah.
And we have 2 campuses now. We're in town too.
Oh, really?
People might not know that. We have
did not know
Grand
that.
Rapids campus and a Lowell campus.
And whereabouts in Grand Rapids?
It's on 5th and Davis. We're using the 3rd floor of the St. Adelbert's, former St. Adelbert's school, so it's a good location for the for Grand Rapids people, and people from Muskegon and Jenison and Byron Center, this part of town.
Okay. Are you able to take more interns on as well?
We could.
You could?
But they have to come for an interview.
Okay.
And they have to have their 4 years of college finished.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that piece. Minor detail. So you offer arts training, music training. You have spiritual direction and retreats. And these are all
and counseling.
And counseling. Yeah, very key too. And these are all at the lifeprocesscenter.org. And how many sisters are there?
We're 14.
14.
Not all of us work full-time at the center.
Okay.
But we're 14 in our community.
And lots of
there.
volunteers.
Yes, very much so.
Lots of volunteers. I just want to encourage everybody again to check out their website. They have quite a bit of information on there for you. And it's the lifeprocesscenter.org. I want to make sure I give you the right web address. They also have a newsletter on there, and you can find out when the next Harp Fest is coming. And anybody who is interested in music, I would just really encourage you to take that before the Lord in prayer and consider if maybe He's calling you for this vocation, because we need more beauty in the world, right, sister?
That's right.
Amen.
Amen.
We thank you so much for joining us again this evening, and we just pray, we ask you to pray for us, and we will continue to pray for you. And we just thank you again for being here. And we'll see you soon.